Tony Dunn, and nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What is up, Panther fans? What is up? Tony Dunn, host of the C3 Panthers Podcast, here on another Tuesday night, chopping up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Each and every week we come at you. We're riding to and from the game together, talking about whatever's going on with the Panthers, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Is Sean Payton in play for the Carolina Panthers? Is what we're first asking. Holy cow, the Carolina Panthers have requested an interview with Sean Payton, and he's doing his little parade. And you know what? His parade might be a hair cooler than John Harbaugh's parade in his khaki pants. He's going back to Michigan. But I saw Sean Payton on Colin Cowherd today, and it looks like he may be meeting with the Carolina Panthers. Is that man, the most punchable face, going to be the face I want to kiss? I don't know, but I'm going to find out with my wheel man, Cody Lashney. How you doing, my friend?
Tony Dunn, there's nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than sitting here chilling with my boys, talking Panthers football. You know we're going to be talking about this coaching search going on for the Panthers right now. Ben Johnson giving us the Knicks. We've got NFL playoff stuff to talk about. We've got veteran quarterbacks to talk about. We've got young quarterbacks to talk about. We have everything that you can imagine to talk about today. And Tony, you know we're going to do it with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. Our guys, Drew, AU Link, Blind Panthers Vlog, Carson 1, Chad Howell, CJA, Cody C13, D'Angelo the Legend, Hemlock, Every Gaming 98, Jonathan Abernathy, Matt Knows Nothing, Michael Davis, Michael Johnson, Panther Pickle, Supreme, Lita, and Tim Estes. Tony Dunn, there's so many people in the chat room, brother. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's roll.
I tell you this, Blind Panther Vlogs in the chat says, y'all still on that quarterback shit? Hell yeah. I told y'all you're either in the land of you got a quarterback or you're in the land of you don't got a quarterback. And the Panthers haven't had a quarterback since Cam Newton. But guess what? We also don't have a head freaking coach. And we on that one too. We are on the chase, folks. Jim Caldwell's been interviewed. Ben Johnson potentially backing out. Steve Wilkes in the waiting. And Sean Payton is the sexy name on the list.
Nothing. My bad.
CK in the house. Don't worry, Cody. It's just a little clipping, but that's it. CK, boy, there is the coaching carousel continues. And to make it even more complicated, now there's a bunch of potential veteran, or as in Cody Lack says, geriatric coaches on the move. Franchise quarterbacks, old school quarterbacks on the move.
Right.
There are a lot of teams right now that need coaches, that need quarterbacks. And have you seen how many offensive coordinators have gotten fired?
A lot. And, listen, here's the thing. The biggest thing we've got to worry about right now is coach. But it is absolutely impossible not to talk about the different possibilities at QB this offseason. Just simply for the fact that we are so needy for a QB. And a lot of this is going to be figured out by whoever the new coach is going to be. If we get a new coach and it happens to be Sean Payton, tell you what, boys and girls, Sam Darnold isn't the guy. Sorry to tell you, he will not be the guy that Sean Payton decides to try to revive. But I will tell you this as much, because I think it's important that we do touch base on these coaches. I think a lot of people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves in the optimism regarding getting Sean Payton. You've got to think that we are probably at the bottom of the list that New Orleans wants to trade this guy to. So that asking price of mid to late round is probably going to be a little higher for the Panthers if we wanted to have a shot at getting him as a coach for the Panthers.
Yeah. Sean Payton's still the sexy name with the pursed lips that he always has. But it was Jim Harbaugh, and the Jim Harbaugh news is gone and nil and none, and actually turned out to be may have been there in the first place. But as you go around and you look at these coaches that are on the list, there's a lot of hot new names, but Sean Payton is the name, the proven name. That's like getting if we're a producer or a director of a movie and we're trying to get the next new star or something in here, or we believe we have somebody that has the charisma to be the next Sharon Stone, to be whatever you want to be, whoever that sex type icon is, or the action hero guy is. At this point, though, those names are still unknown. Sean Payton's let's just sign Sylvester Stallone and make this movie, or let's just get Liam Neeson and do Taken on a Mountain. All right. And we can do it. It's we did Taken in New Orleans, and now we'll do Taken in North Carolina. Maybe we do Bounty in New Orleans and you do Bounty in North Carolina, starring Sean Payton, for all I know. But we've got that to talk about. We've got the NFL playoffs, Lamar Jackson in the house potentially. Oh my gosh. Greg, the Bat Daddy, the Stat Daddy, is back in the house. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, man. And Tony, I got to tell you, if you're talking about Sean Payton being a sexy pick, then you and I have a different definition of sexy. Because when I look at Sean Payton coming to Carolina, that is not what I'm looking for in the future.
Not feeling it, huh?
Not saying that he's not a good coach, but that's not my cup of tea right there. Like I'm not feeling the Sean Payton thing. What we've got to give up to get him, what the guy is, like that's just not my guy. So,
all right. You've heard it, folks. Show over. Now, the number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. We want to get your thoughts on the Panthers head coaching search, some of the names that are kind of budding or at least blossoming at this moment, and those that are falling to the wayside or at least seemingly farther out of the Panthers' reach. And then the NFL playoffs were there. Tom Brady's out of the NFC South, baby. I bet you he's gone. So we want to get your thoughts. The number's 252-228-5098. Smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast around. And this is what y'all really want y'all to do, is message Torrey Smith and tell him to come on the C3 Panthers podcast and talk about Jim Caldwell as a coach. I messaged him today because I went back in my research of Jim Caldwell as a coach. He was the offensive coordinator of the Super Bowl winning Baltimore Ravens. And a crazy story at this guy was appointed the offensive coordinator as they went into the playoffs. They fired their offensive coordinator like in week 15 or 16 of that season. And then they said, hey, Caldwell, we're going to the playoffs. We need you to do something here. Quarterbacks coach. And those guys freaking won the Super Bowl that year. Let's message Torrey Smith. We need him. And I also saw Jermaine Carter Jr. Guys, C3 Nation fans, get together. Let's get these guests. They need to know about us. And let's tell them about us, Cody. Yeah. Let's get in this freaking show.
Before we hop into that, can I comment on one thing in the chat room with people talking about me being crazy about not liking Sean Payton? Hey, everybody out there who loves Sean Payton, imagine him without Drew Brees. Go.
Oh no, we got that queued
imagine
up.
Him without Drew Brees.
Oh,
go.
Bro,
do you think he's the same guy he is? Thank you.
Cody's already all over it.
I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Imagine him without Drew Brees. Go.
Let's get into the show, Cody.
Listen, the talk of the town is obviously the one and only Sean Payton. And there has been a lot of rumors surrounding Sean. And it was also reported that he is indeed going to interview with the Carolina Panthers. Roman Harper. What show does Roman go on, you said, Tony?
He goes on the Kyle Bailey show on WFNZ, and the Sports Nut sent us this. Did not have an opportunity to grab the audio, but Roman Harper adamantly believed that Peyton was not a real option. And what's happened? The Sports Nut's telling us that maybe Roman Harper is seeing things differently.
Yeah, apparently Roman Harper, he was on the radio and he gave a pretty interesting opinion. He said he didn't think that the Carolina Panthers would have a shot at, actually pulling off a trade for Sean Payton until yesterday. He thinks that it would be possible with a 4th-round pick this year and a 2024 first-round pick. So that's kind of interesting. I wanted to kind of frame it in that kind of light, right? We've typically been thinking that if we're going to get Sean Payton, we're going to have to give up this year's first round. But would you give up a first-round pick next year, potentially still draft your quarterback of choice if that's what they're going to do, and then you get Sean Payton as a package? This is a very appealing to a lot of people. And Greg, I'm not going to lie to you, brother. I'm one of them. I'm going to separate my fandom and my hatred for the New Orleans Saints and what they have done to us forever in favor of an offensive-minded head coach that has a track record not only in the playoffs, but in the Super Bowl as well. Now, I hear you talking about Drew Brees. If it doesn't have Drew Brees, he's not the same player. But keep in mind that when the Saints traded for Drew Brees from the Chargers, he wasn't the Drew Brees that we know him to be today. Nobody really knew what they had him, and they went on to break records. So,
He was
listen,
Justin Herbert. Yeah.
I imagine, so everybody knows I'm a Matt Corral fan. Could Sean Payton be the type of guy to get the most out of a Matt Corral? Or hell, if it's a quarterback that you draft or whoever, I would not hate that in the slightest.
The only question you have to ask yourself there is, was Drew Brees a product of Sean Payton, or is Drew Brees just a great quarterback?
Why couldn't
There's
they be
no real way to know.
symbiotic? Why
But you
couldn't
have
they
to
just
ask
be?
yourself,
Why does it have to be either or? Could it be symbiotic?
It could be symbiotic, but all I'm saying is, if Drew Brees is great because Sean Payton made him great, then yes, of course Sean Payton.
What
can
if
make
they
the
just
next quarterback
achieve
great.
greatness together?
You're right. They can. I don't know. I guess I don't know the argument. I mean, it's tough to say. I just don't feel like I've seen him with anybody other than a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's hard. It's like McCarthy. It's hard to judge McCarthy. He's had Aaron Rodgers his whole career, like a Hall of Fame quarterback. How do you judge how good he really is?
Well, you could say that about Bill Belichick then.
You're right.
Right.
You
You
can.
could.
And look
Is
what he's
that you
doing
can
right
say
now
that, but we
without a Hall of Fame
here
quarterback.
we
Exactly.
don't. I think
say that
this
about
is that Sean Payton showed he could make the playoffs without what's his name? Didn't he make it with fucking whatever Cody's guy that went to be Tana? What's his name? The guy that runs. He's a tight end, running back, quarterback. Taysom Hill. They made it to the playoffs. No, this is first of all, the Saints were a dumpster fire. And Brees was a pretty
20
good
years
quarterback.
Ago, the Saints were a dumpster fire.
No, and
For the
Brees
last
was a
15
pretty
years, they've been relevant.
good quarterback. He had gotten let go by the Chargers. He had the Dolphins were interested in him. They ended up passing on him because of concerns with the shoulder injury he had when he was with San Diego, and they went with somebody like Dante Culpepper or something. That was, who did they go with? Somebody in the chat will tell us. But both of these guys came in together and grew. So I don't think it's a guy who made one or the other. I think that you found a dynamic offense,
Right,
because you had a quarterback, by the way, who was not exceptional. The exceptionality about Drew Brees was his poise, was his ability to be a gamer and stuff like that. It's not like he had the bazooka. I mean, he had a good arm. He wasn't, it was like this, is he just did everything very well. It's not like, but he was not a phenom. that a guy that
Right.
so he
He's a
played
Hall of Famer.
above
He's a first
his,
ballot Hall of Famer. I mean,
yeah, but he played
No, but the
above
point that
his
Tony's making,
station.
but the point that Tony's making is that if you look at Drew Brees in comparison with like a Justin Herbert of today or a Josh Allen, he's not that kind of physical prospect. Yet he was able to get the most out of a player like Drew Brees, who, while he had elite processing, didn't have a ton of other elite tendencies. So the fact that he was able to build an offense that was perfectly suited for Drew Brees to put him in the best position to be successful, I think that speaks a lot about.
And he's proven.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
100% proven.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. We say that Sean Payton is proven. He was the coach for the Saints for over a decade, and for well over a decade. And it wasn't until after our 2015 season that he even won back-to-back titles in the NFC South. All right. Number one,
they won a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl before that.
That's not what I said. It's not what I said. I'm saying that they didn't back-to-back titles. I'm talking about consistency.
Forget the Super Bowl. Just let's talk about the back-to-back.
No. Listen, I'm going to talk about the Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl in 2009. What has he done as the head coach for the Saints with one of the most iconic QBs in the entire history of the NFL? What has he done?
Get him.
That makes you think that he's worth the first
We are
round pick.
looking
Can I
at
answer
the
this?
chat, David Barnes. Look, we're putting it all up on the fucking screen. No offense. I'm sorry. I get mad.
I'll put it on the screen. I'm looking at it right now.
We are looking at the chat.
Power.
On top of this is I'll tell you what he did, CK, is the Saints may not have won the division back-to-back, but they were in the playoffs a lot. And I think they were back-to-back in playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think they were just, and then you look at what those teams also did, a couple of things is the miracle one where that thing is like, that was really just, they're going to the freaking NFC championship if the refs don't blow a fucking call there. So it's not like you can't really hold
but here's
entirely that against
That's
him.
not what I'm
just
asking.
saying okay.
My entire question is about, let's look at the entire body of work, the consistency that he's made, right? We want to talk about the Cowboys are garbage because they'll get to the playoffs and won't win, right? McCarthy won't win. This is another thing we're going to have to talk about, right? McCarthy is a horrible coach because every time he gets to the playoffs, he chokes. Well, guess what? Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, they've done the exact same thing. And everybody's crowning Aaron Rodgers as the greatest thing on the face of the planet. But at the same time, when you look at the body of work, they aren't doing anything. The Saints have gone to the Super Bowl. It is. How many times is it?
I'm with CK.
Hold on.
It is true.
No, let's talk about
all right,
something.
then let me go.
How many times has the Saints with Sean Payton gone to the Super Bowl?
But no, that's not the bar to measure it by. No, CK, that's not the bar to measure it by.
What's the goal?
Nobody's good in the NFL. Nobody's good.
Not only have the Saints not only have the Saints been dominating the division for the past 4 years in the NFC South, but you're literally not understanding that you can make the same argument about a bunch of really good coaches in the NFL right now. I could say the same thing about Mike Tomlin. When's the last time that Mike Tomlin won a Super Bowl?
You know what, Cody? That actually argues more to our point that more coaches are like Sean Payton. He's not.
The other thing that you're not mentioning is that look, there was a few years when the Saints went 7-9, like 3 years in a row, and yes, they had really bad defenses. But if we're talking about modernizing the Carolina Panthers offense, even in those 7-9 seasons, they had some of the most prolific passing offenses in the NFL. So if you're talking about a proven offensive play caller, and that's another thing to mention, Sean Payton would be calling plays. If you're going to talk about him as a play caller and as a coach, you can't just say that because he did Super Bowl every year, that all of a sudden that means that he's overrated. He's always in the playoffs.
That's not what I'm saying.
You give him 100% of that credit for those play calls. Right. You can call the play all you want to. If
it doesn't have to be an either or thing, Greg. You're trying to make us go overboard on this. Here, let's just look at what this.
He is.
Hell
proven.
yeah,
I'll
he
give you that.
is.
Listen, he
Hell
has
yeah, he
proven.
is.
Listen, he has proven that he was able to make it to the playoffs, right? Like
Look, let's look
what
at
he's
his
proven.
record. Look, he has been there since 06.
Been where?
New Orleans.
The Saints. He was with the
Right,
Saints
right,
from
yeah.
06 to 2021.
Right.
Listen to this. They went 10-6 his first year. They went 7-9, 8-8, 13-3,
Won the Super Bowl.
11-5, 13-3, 7-9, 11-5. Then they had this 3-year stretch right here of 7-9. And then he wins 11, 13, 13, 12. Dude.
Drew Brees.
Yeah. Hey,
No,
real quick,
Drew Brees
D'Angelo.
was kind
Hey,
of
look,
toast by this. By
Drew
2020,
Brees is a first
2019,
ballot Hall of
Drew
Famer,
Brees was
dude.
Drew
Come on.
and they
Brees
still
was
made the
cooked.
playoffs.
Drew
The fact
Brees
that
was
he was
cooked
old-
by 2019.
How,
He
And
won-
how
they
about
won
this?
Let me ask
13
you.
games.
Let me ask you. How many coaches in their lifetime get to coach a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback?
Well, give us this. Who do you want me to compare him to?
What do you mean compare?
Well, you're.
I
I mean,
don't
I'm
know.
not asking
Like,
you to
I'll
compare
give you
anybody.
this.
All
Is
I'm
this
asking you to
dude
is look at it
coach-
realistically.
No, I'm
that
saying,
he
like,
is a
pick
good
a
coach.
guy.
That he's a good coach, but he also had a shit ton of help. He had one of the
Yeah, but
best
doesn't
quarterbacks
that
who
matter,
ever played
though?
the game.
It
It
Aren't
does
you
matter.
Well, we don't want him catching
But
the
aren't
bad
you
news
trying to
fucking
pair-
Bears, dude.
Aren't you trying
So
to
that's
pair
the
a
only
really
thing
good
that would make
coach
it better.
with a franchise quarterback?
I
That's-
am, but what I'm
that's
saying
the
is, do
objection.
you think that Matt Corral is on the same level as Drew Brees? I'm not saying he's not because I don't
Bro,
know.
he ain't
But do
gonna
you
be
think
the
that possibility is
quarterback.
there?
Man, if we
Listen,
get Sean
either way,
Payton,
you
dude, you're
need an
gonna get
offense-
like Lamar. It's gonna be Sean Payton
Hey,
and
look,
Lamar.
Look,
Hold on,
he
time out.
had
Let me write
James
down- hold on,
Winston
hold on,
and
write
threw
down.
for
Let
5,000 yards and 35 interceptions and touchdowns.
Let me just read this super
So-
chat real quick. It says, remember, Drew was almost a bust in San Diego. That's why they drafted Phillip Rivers. Shout out to D'Angelo with the $5. Listen, Greg, I'm not picking up that argument because I don't think you can blame an organization for being in possession of a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Sure.
Everybody wants
And he
that.
wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback until
But-
what year?
But
Think about this. It's
he's
like you're
what,
not gonna
his
you
second
call
year?
him
The
a
point
Hall of
remains the
Fame
same.
quarterback. No, but what look is you guys are acting like Drew Brees is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He is.
He
What-
is, hands down.
Oh, so,
he
all right.
is.
Yeah.
So what year did he make it to a? All right, let's look at his stats. I want to say this. At
Guys,
what
we don't
point?
even have,
Period.
guys, we don't have to
gotta separate.
devalue either of them. They are both first ballot Hall of
No,
Famers.
I think you're almost making Drew Brees better than he.
Look at
was.
his all-time
No,
record,
Drew
and
Brees
he
the
is
man.
Let's
he
see.
is
Drew
But I'm
100.
saying, at
Drew
what
Brees
point
won-
did he become a first ballot ball of
Okay,
famer?
let's
Hall
go through
of-
it. Drew
Hall of-
Brees-
Hall
Drew
of
Brees
Famer.
won-
Hall of J. What I'm trying to say is this: I think that we are having some disconnect of the way we view the past. And I understand. I agree. Drew Brees, first ballot Hall of Famer. Agree.
Okay.
But was he that in 2012? Was he
Yes.
that like at what year? So 6 years he became a Hall of Famer.
He
Let
won
me
the
ask
Super
you-
Bowl, became
No,
a Super
no.
Bowl MVP. That's when the
And he's a Hall of Famer?
that's
No,
when you
no,
start
look.
that argument.
That's when you
Wow.
start the argument. But look, this is where I start the argument. Look, he has
Okay.
1, 2,
2009,
3,
that's when they
4,
won the Super
5,
Bowl.
6
3 years?
six offensive player of the years, 1, 2, 3, 4 MVPs.
But
and
when
one
did
Super
was
Bowl.
his
That
I
is the first
understand.
ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm not discounting that. What I'm saying is this: is you're
How about
trying
this?
to say that Sean Payton's career is so determined by Drew Brees. What I'm saying is this: is that Drew Brees and him were together in 2006,
Mhm.
right? So they went 10-6, 7, 9, 8. All right. So Drew Brees he threw 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns his first year. Then he threw 44, 5,000. Right. What I'm saying is he if he retired after 2013, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Probably not first ballot, but he's a Hall
Right.
of Famer.
So what I'm trying to
look.
say is I don't think if that's the case, you can't just say, oh, Drew Brees made him, because the longevity of them together is what made them.
True.
It's
But that's a
because
good point.
they rocked together.
But the part The part you've got to like, here's the argument. You can argue. I'm not one that's going to argue that he had Drew Brees, right? He had Drew Brees. I'm not going to use that as a reason to say he's a bad coach, right? But you've also got to take into consideration when we talk about when people want to, and I know these aren't the same, but when people want to talk about Frank Reich, everybody's like, oh, that would be a good offensive coordinator. That'd be a good head coach, right? All of these things. Well, guess what? His best years were with Hall of Fame quarterbacks, potential Hall of Fame quarterbacks, like Andrew Luck if he had stayed in the league, and Phillip Rivers. Those are two Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Best years didn't even sniff Sean Payton's best years.
Hold on, but what my point is that that's a detractor for people for Frank Reich, right? That's a detractor for him. So why can't it be a detractor for Sean Payton when you see when you look at his entire? He has a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's not, regardless of whether or not he was a Hall of Fame quarterback before Sean Payton got him, he has a Hall of Fame quarterback who is putting up numbers that are ungodly, completion percentages that are ridiculous, even throwing 5,500 yards. He's got some of the NFL all-time records, right? Mm-hmm. And he's only gotten the Super Bowl one time with a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's
just the nature of football.
Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. I'm with Tony. I'm with Tony 1,000%. And by the way, I also don't feel, CK, that you're giving him enough credit. Like, how do we know? Like, okay, I know this is a whole lot of what ifs, but if we're doing the what if game, let's do it. If we're going to give Drew Brees that much credit, you have to give some to Sean Payton for being the orchestrator of that offense that he was in. I don't know. I do not know. I do not know if you put Drew Brees with any other offensive coordinator that he would have been able to reach the same heights that he did with Sean Payton. And I think that's a fair discussion. But if you said that he would, then I can say that he wouldn't be, because we'll have no way of knowing.
But you're saying what we're talking about right now is we're talking about he is this number one. You're putting him in the category of where we're willing to give away a 4th round pick next year. 4th round this year. So not only are we talking about that,
no, I think the offer is this. I think you guys are misreading it. I think you think that's just 2 4ths.
But that was what Roman
it's a first. It's a
one. No. Go back one. Go back the other one. I think when the first slide, I think this is when he says with a 4th and a 24.
He means the first.
I think
he means
the first. So it's a 4th round this year.
100% is what he means.
First next year. Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
One first round pick.
Look, exactly, but you're giving it away for a guy who's been to 1 Super Bowl.
All right, how about
over 15 years ago? Almost.
Go ahead.
I just want to make one point as to how much Drew Brees means to Peyton or to Sean Payton. Okay, in the worst years that New Orleans had of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, 8-8, Drew Brees 5,069 yards, 34 touchdowns. 7-9, 5,177 yards, 43 touchdowns. 7-9, 4,950 yards, 33 touchdowns. 7-8, 4,870, 32 touchdowns. There has never been a moment where Drew Brees has not been a top 3 or 4 quarterback that he has been playing.
Name a successful coach.
Name a successful
coach
who
hasn't had a quarterback.
It falls onto the coach for the rest of it. Drew Brees put the numbers up.
Name a single coach who has been successful with a bad quarterback.
Not one.
And I think the closest you can actually, I do think there might be one, and he might be in the playoffs right now.
All these guys are good.
San Francisco, Shanahan has been to the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan's pretty good, but he is not Drew Brees level, right?
The quarterbacks aren't bad.
No, I think that I'm just saying this is I think that Shanahan is the only one that potentially has had multiple years of high level success. Think of this. Andy Reid. Is Andy Reid the best coach in the NFL? Yes. Like, I mean, and we can quibble. You can say, oh, no, it's this guy.
At one point in time.
But you could also say this is that the reason we say he's the best coach ever is
because Mahomes.
And McNabb. He fucking slayed with McNabb. They went to 3 NFC championships.
And
they never got the Super Bowl.
I get that, but
and he was still a good player that whole time.
My point is, the quarter the
name a coach though
coach
that
who
has
just
been
like-
successful without great players.
I
Tell
get
me
that.
a
You're right.
quarterback
You're right.
that, I
You
mean, a
have to have a
coach who has made a good team out of who has made chicken shit out of chicken salad. You know what? You might say Ron Rivera.
Steve Wilkes did it this year. But anyway,
Yeah, but
you're right. No, you're right. You need a
not
good
even
quarterback. You need a good
sniffing.
quarterback. My point is, Tony, in the years where he wasn't successful with his record, his quarterback was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
He
by
deserves
stats.
credit for that.
So
He deserves credit
Whoa.
for that.
maybe he
Yeah,
deserves
get
credit
him,
for that.
Cody.
But if you can't win with a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and throughout the years he's been there, what's been known as the
But
best
he
defense
did.
in
Guess
the
what?
NFC
Dan
South,
Jacksonville-
Marino,
then,
Dan
okay,
Marino
what do you
Blake
say
never
about
won a
Bortles
Super
was a
Bowl.
top. Blake
Dan
Bortles
Marino
was a top 3 quarterback.
Dan
We gotta
Marino
move.
was one
Let's
of the
move to the
best
next.
quarterbacks. Hold on, look. Dan Marino was one of the best quarterbacks of all
and he went
time
undefeated.
and
Never
never
won a
won a
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
Guy to ever go
So
undefeated,
just
so.
because
Actually, you could
they're
say
not
the
winning
best quarterback. Arguably, he really is the best until Muggs started piling up
But
these
just
Super
because
Bowl
they didn't
rings.
win the Super Bowl every year doesn't automatically mean that that coach isn't enough. But Tony's right. Let's move on. How about this?